Meschino's been our formulator right from the very beginning. He's been the only formulator that we've had, and happy to have him. Dr. Meschino has a master's in nutrition. He is a naturopathic doctor, and originally trained as a chiropractor, and is a fellow of the Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine out of California. He's been lecturing for many years at the Chiropractic College and at the Naturopathic College in Toronto. His latest book is Optimal Living Program, 7 Steps to a Healthier, Fit, Age-Resistant Body. Dr. Meschino has been on television many times, doing these types of lectures for years. And I think you're going to really enjoy this talk. He's very energetic, entertaining. I think the thing that makes him the most credible is that Jim lives the life that he preaches. And as we know, there are a lot of people out there that talk, but they don't walk the walk. Anyway, please welcome Dr. Jason.
Thanks, Bruno. How are you? Good. I'm watching you walk in tonight, and I know some of you. I don't know most of you, but I know some of you. And so I see my friend Dr. John Baer, not only a chiropractor, but he's talking to you all of you. And we have dentists in the audience. Dr. Jarima here is a dental man. We have our registered nutritional consultants that I know personally. Any pharmacists in the audience tonight? Right over here. So it's like a multidisciplinary community to some degree. So I'm very grateful because, health practitioners like yourself already have tons of knowledge. You don't really need me to come and, educate you, in an evening when you could be doing other things. But I appreciate the fact that you think I have something to offer you this evening. And I think I have some really new cutting-edge stuff that's highly useful. And will help to keep bridging the gap between traditional healthcare systems and other types of proactive strategies people can be using on their own to try to move the action forward in terms of getting the best possible wellness outcomes that are available. So Nita, can I go to that first slide? The reason that I wanted to teach this program is because for myself, I became, it just occurred to me many years ago that, because health is at the center of your existence, all the other things you want to do in your life, between, financial pursuits and, having a home and family life and different hobbies, recreational activities, other caring for other people, sports activities you might want to do, that in order to do any of that, or to keep it going for as long as possible, you have to be physically healthy and hopefully also mentally healthy. And so it made sense to me to say, I think I want to look after myself as best I can within a certain, kind of reason. I don't want to have to move to the jungle and grow my own bean sprout. I'm willing to make certain sacrifices and be somewhat disciplined so that I can keep this going for as long as possible and be able to do and enjoy all the other things around me. That's really what it comes down to. The reason to even think about becoming consistent with the things I'm going to talk about tonight is because that's the reality is that if your health disappears or there's some major health challenges, your quality of life is really changed and can really alter the total amount of enjoyment you have in life. And so for me, the small sacrifices necessary to help maintain a healthy body and hopefully mind makes sense. But everybody has to decide that for themselves. Can I go to that next slide? What we're on that subject, I think we're in the Rogers Center tonight. I'm thinking about Ted Rogers, who accomplished so much in his life, and sadly we lost him yesterday. Such a visionary, and did so much. And you say, it's unfortunate he died at 75 years old. You say, well, maybe it was just his genetic time bombs went off, and that was it. No matter what he did, that was going to be as long as his life was going to be. But what I'm going to talk to you about tonight is, what do those genetic time bombs look like? And what can we be doing throughout our lives to help alter our own gene expression so we get better health and a more highly functional body and mind for a longer period of time? So the purpose of the seminar tonight is for me to I wanted to illustrate, because I look at this research on a very regular basis. And what stands out is that most of the health conditions that are quite serious that catch up with us as the years go by, are not primarily genetic, but rather very much lifestyle influence. There's a genetic component. Geneticists tell us that it's kind of like the loaded gun. We carry the loaded gun around with us. But often we decide when that trigger is going to be pulled. Certain lifestyle factors that we subscribe to, our behaviors, can often pull that trigger many years prematurely than may otherwise be the case. And I'm going to try to illustrate that point to you tonight. Go to the next slide. So I also want to touch on then, if we're going to try to decrease risk of degenerative illnesses and slow the biological processes of aging in the ways that we're going to talk about, what's really in it for you at the end of the day? Well, you want to reduce your risk of degenerative illnesses. I think you want to try to have a highly functional body and mind for the longest period of time. Anybody in this room interested in that outcome? So we're all on the same page. Some people couldn't care less, to be quite honest with you. But if you're motivated to come to a seminar like this, obviously you have an interest. But that is the goal. That's what the goal is. How do I maintain a highly functional body and mind for the longest period of time? And at the same time as you're doing that, the payoff is that you're also slowing down the biological processes of aging. You can even reverse some of the biological processes of aging. We'll talk about how that gets done. So let's just look at the pie chart here. These are stats from the United Kingdom, but in Canada it's basically the same. About 40% of women and 40% of men die from heart attacks and stroke and related vascular conditions. So that's number one. 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women. And then you have 30% of society dying from cancer. Now, when I first graduated in 1979, cancer accounted for 20% of all deaths. Now it's at 30%. And you know that it's becoming a more prevalent disease. Not just because the population is aging, but on a per capita basis in terms of mortality, cancer rates are increasing. And it's not because all of a sudden we've got these really bad genes that are showing up. Largely, you'll see what the National Cancer Institute says, what they say is that about 85% of all these cancers are avoidable through better dietary and lifestyle practices. So we need to identify what those are. We're going to tease apart the different aspects of it. Of what we know so far, we don't have all the answers yet, but we have some really good clues. And I want to touch on those things because I think they're important. And so if you can reduce your risk of heart disease and related vascular conditions and cancer, and if you're not a smoker and you don't develop respiratory disease, you've got a good chance to go in the distance in life and having some fun. And if your bones don't cave in from osteoporosis, which of course we'll talk about that. That's the other thing. People say, my heart's good and I don't have cancer, but now I need a walker and I'm walking like this and my bones are collapsing. That could change your quality of life. And then you have a hip fracture and things get worse. So that's truly a lifestyle issue. And we'll talk about how to make sure that doesn't happen to you. Maybe it could have happened to your parents because they didn't know any better. But in this day and age, we know exactly how to prevent. Please come in, have a table for one, glass of wine. Okay, then we go to the next thing. So, I read a book a while ago called Genetic Prophecy Beyond the Double Helix, written by these really top geneticists, who said, once you survive infancy and early childhood, if you had a really serious genetic defect, that was going to hit you, you would have had cystic fibrosis as a child, or leukemia as a child. The further along the lifespan you go, generally speaking, diseases that you develop are primarily things, maybe you were born with the loaded gun, you had a genetic mutation sitting there, or you had what's called a proto-oncogene, a gene that could become a cancer gene. But right now, it's functioning normally. But if it gets mutated along the way, due to free radicals, faulty lifestyle behaviors, cells dividing too quickly, we'll talk about this. You kind of turn on the gene. Now it goes from a non-cancer gene to a cancer gene, now everything changes. What they're saying is that for these diseases that we dread as the years tick by, that there's always a relationship between our genetic predisposition, and we're all walking around with a loaded gun for something, and the environment. Everything from how much stress we have to dietary behaviors. Are we overweight? Are we exercising? A whole bunch of things factor into it. We need to see how it all kind of fits together in one model. We go to that next slide. The thing that hit home for me was in the New England Journal of Medicine in 1988. As I was following this, I finished my master's degree in nutrition in 1983 or 84. And so I started really carefully following literature from that point forward in all the major scientific journals. This article appeared by Sorensen in 1988. Here's what they wanted to find out, is it genes that are causing these problems or is it lifestyle? So they said, well, here's a way to kind of help determine that. Let's look at kids who are adopted by families, and are now living with a family where there's no genetic relationship to that parent, right? The adopted parent. And so if any of those parents, either one of them or both, die of cancer before the age of 50, you think that's a pretty strong genetic risk factor. The question is, the kids that they adopted, because they're not related genetically, you think, well, because there's no genetic relationship, it's very unlikely that they would die of cancer before the age of 50. But in fact, there's a 5-fold greater risk that they will. Why? Because they have a similar lifestyle. So wait a minute, maybe that's not the explanation. Maybe just by coincidence, their biological parents who they never met and didn't live in the same house with them, maybe if those biological parents developed cancer before the age of 50, did that also influence their cancer risk? And it didn't. Because they're saying it's the lifestyle this person was living under the same roof. The person who developed cancer had a cancer lifestyle, and the kid then had the cancer lifestyle regardless of their genes. And the biological parents who had a totally different life, not living in that house, the way that they behaved was different. There was no relationship at all to their offspring in terms of cancer risk. Isn't that remarkable? It's remarkable. Because when I watch CNN, you know what I see? There's a new gene for breast cancer. There's a new gene for ovarian cancer. There's a new gene for Alzheimer's. There's a new gene. Those genes exist. But not everybody with the gene gets the disease. Have you noticed that? Why is that? Because the gene is the loaded gun. But the trigger only gets pulled when you turn the gene on. Well, you can affect how the gene's going to behave. That's the lesson we're learning in the modern era. And I'm going to show you some of those points. We'd have to be here a few days, and by then, I'll be asleep if I show you. But I'm going to